So we got to ask when this happened yesterday, it was everybody. It was funny to watch the trade break. It was the Canucks, it was the Flames, and the two names were Granlund and Shattenkirk. Not Shattenkirk. Granlund and Shinkarik.
Yes. You sound like Jim Benning, sir.
Well, and
doesn't matter what the name is.
And then somebody, I forget who it was, but one, hockey expert reporter said, yet to find out who else is involved. As in, there's no way that this is a one-for-one swap.
That, by the way, so that is a little thing that insiders do because a lot of them don't like to offer their opinion. Elliot Friedman doesn't really like to offer his opinion, and when he does, it's very calculated, and he says,
here's why.
This is my opinion. I want to make sure you know that, and this is why. One of the little things they can do is go, I'll check and see if anyone else is involved because they know it's such an obvious fleecing. That was this trade.
Well, now, okay, just to sum it up, Hunter Shinkarik, I almost called him Shattenkirk again. Hunter Shinkarik, one of the top prospects on the Vancouver Canucks.
A first-round pick.
First-round pick.
First-round pick who probably went lower than he should have.
And I remember actually going into that draft, Steve, you talking about him.
He's a great goal scorer. He's one of the best goal scorers available in the draft.
And Marcus, not Michael Granlund.
As CanucksArmy.ca put it, not even, no, they called him the worst Granlund. Which, I'm sorry.
Marcus Granlund, who has how many points? He's played 31 games this year?
Who cares? He's not Shinkarik.
He has 5 goals and 4 assists in 12 American Hockey League games.
I'm not going to ask you, Steve.
All right.
I'm not going to ask you why this is a good trade. I'm going to ask you how the hell the Canucks said yes to this. What happened?
Well, I think the best line in this whole thing, I wish I had it prepared, but I remember it basically. The best line in this whole thing, I believe it was Thomas Drance tweeted a line from...
Writer for Sportsnet.ca.
Writer for Sportsnet.ca. A line from Benning after the trade was made, basically going, well, we got Baertschi, we got this other guy, I can't remember who it was, and we feel they fill our offensive or goal scoring needs of the future. And Dmitry Filipovich goes, oh, good, because under the new CBA, you're only allowed to have a certain amount of skilled players.
Well,
it's just not a smart trade. It's not.
I actually compiled some of my favorite Jim Benning LOL quotes.
Oh, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
The first one is, the one thing about Hunter is he likes to score. We don't know if that's going to translate to the NHL or not.
No, because that's not a thing people do in the NHL. You're right.
Granlund, I can tell you for sure, doesn't score at the NHL level. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
so
seen
that's
it. There is evidence.
There's evidence that he doesn't.
There's a body of work.
So what would you rather have, a no or a maybe? Your choice. Then we've got, I don't think we gave up on Hunter Shinkarik. Also from Jim Benning, LOL.
I don't think we gave up on him. We just decided he was worth trading.
On Granlund, we get a two-way player that can play in any situation, up or down in the lineup. He can play left wing. He can play center.
You know what that sounds a lot like? An elite third liner, Adam. Which, as we know, is not a thing. An elite third liner is a second liner.
Anybody who can play up or down in the lineup usually doesn't belong in the up category, right?
We can friggin' throw him in. We can throw him. That sounds like a plug.
That would be the definition of a plug.
And it's plug.
Or competent bum.
Which you need.
You need to win the bums. You do need confident bums. Okay.
You also need a goal scorer, but okay.
One more, and this is great. One more, and this is from Jason Broug, B-R-O-U-G, Brew.
I'm going to go with, I've never actually heard his name said out loud.
PHT?
Let's go with bro.
Okay.
Because he's our bro.
He is our bro. And Jason, this is a great quote. He's like, one more thing from Benning. Benning said that they tried to get a D-man for Shinkarik, but Granlund was the best they could do.
Sorry, who said that?
Jim Benning said that.
Jim Benning said that.
But Jason reported it.
What is so great about that press conference, because I think there's another quote you missed in there. There were two covering his butt quotes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what it was? It was that one? Which, okay, read it again.
Benning said they tried to get a D-man for Shinkarik, but Granlund was the best they could get.
Subtext, look, we tried to make this trade better, but this is the best we could do. And the other one was there was someone in the Canucks organization who used to be with the Flames. I want to say Weisbrod, I think was his name. And basically he championed him as, you know what, he really wanted this deal. He really wanted this deal.
And was Weisbrod not the guy that drafted Sven Barchi as well?
I believe so, and passed on Shinkarik and drafted Emile Poirier instead.
Where's Emile Poirier now?
I don't know.
Okay, so there's that. There's all of that. All right. Now, let's rewind to the Toronto Maple Leafs deal with the San Jose Sharks.
Okay.
Couldn't get a defenseman. Okay. Are you telling me if the Vancouver Canucks are you telling me that they did their due diligence? They wouldn't want a Roman Polak if they're looking for a defenseman that badly?
I guess
a right-handed shot, big defenseman?
Young defenseman, maybe?
Is that what they wanted?
Maybe they wanted a younger guy and less expensive than Polak, or...
So you trade away a young guy who's 21?
This is exactly...
Look, you're trying to make sense of it, and the beauty is there's no sense to be made. It's a bad deal from a bad management group. And Canucks fans, I'm going to tell you right now... Jesse, we got a next show, because I'm about to go off on this team. We got a next show. Find Nostradamus talking about this. One of the first episodes of the podcast. Your team is going downhill, and you're going to stink, and you're going to stink for a long time. It's going to be a slow, awful, excruciating death.
But it doesn't have to be. That's the point.
Yes, it does, because they have stupid people in charge, Adam. It doesn't have to be if they have smart people involved, but they have ridiculous people involved. What did we talk about last show with regard to the Leafs? We talked about a certain trade, and it was Peter Holland. Acquiring Peter Holland, and just the mismanagement of the Leafs.
Because they gave up on Joe Colborne.
They gave up on Joel Colborne. Didn't really get a whole lot for him, and granted, Joe Colborne's not amazing.
But he's playing.
They got more for Sean Mathias than they did for Joe Colborne at the time, which I'm not sure is awesome. Then their lack of centerman due to 2 injuries, they're like, holy crap, we have to make a huge trade. They go out and they get Peter Holland, who has been fine, but they gave up on a prospect to do it, and they gave up a pick that went from being a third rounder to a second because they mismanaged Peter Holland. Mismanaged his minutes, mismanaged his games played, mismanaged his time in the minors, mismanaged everything. Relatively small deals. Okay, so you might go, you described the deal perfectly. It's a probably no versus a maybe yes. It's really a fistful of maybes, this trade. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? The Canucks are fine. They got Bo Horvat. They got Jake Virtanen. They got Jared McCann. They still have the Sedins to rely on.
Well, they did fill their quota.
Oh.
I mean, they were over the cap on scoring. So,
You're right.
For a team that has scored,
right.
What is it, a league low amount of goals this year?
Oh, Adam, what's with your numbers?
One of the league lows? Do you want to check on that, Jesse? Yeah. Do you mind checking that one?
I'll tell you a number. Jake Virtanen, 6th overall. Or 5th overall, whatever it was.
And Bo Horvat, 9th overall?
Guess how they got him? Not Luongo.
Schneider.
Loophole Lou.
Oh, Loophole Lou. Yeah, well.
He's our snake now. I love it. So
I can't, okay. Why? And this is the problem with the Leafs for the longest time. This is why it rings so much in our ears, I think, when we see something like this. It's trading skill for size? For maneuverability? You telling me Hunter Shinkarik cannot do the same thing that Granlund can do? Are you telling me he won't at least become Granlund? If you were to put him in the NHL right now, are you telling me that he could not at least compete with Granlund?
I think you're making some assumptions, Adam. Are you an NHL executive?
I'm not.
Are you smarter?
I'm not.
Than Jim Benning? I got a message from a Canucks fan who I think sees the writing on the wall.
Fan or writer?
They requested anonymity.
Expert, would you say? Would you trust this person's opinion?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is more than just Joe from
Burlington.
Not Joe from Burlington. Joe from Surrey.
Right. Well, and they're a listener, I guess. I know you talked about Frank Corrado last podcast and were making fun of the Canucks for just letting him walk. And I don't know if you know the story behind Vancouver's decision to place him on waivers, but it's even stupider than you guys made it out to be.
How is that possible?
And I said, well, we only went based off the province's story. What's the reason? Basically, Corrado was the final cut from the Canucks. I think he was a cut for all intents and purposes pretty early in camp, but he was the final guy to actually be cut from the roster, the 24th guy. There was a ridiculously obvious and easy way to keep him, though. All they had to do was send Bo Horvat to Utica on a paper transaction for one afternoon. That would have allowed them to open the season with Corrado on their 23-man roster. Then, Chris Higgins, who was injured, could have been placed on LTIR immediately, Horvat recalled, and Corrado retained. I said, LOL, no way, come on. He goes,
That can't be true.
He goes,
it can't be that easy.
He goes, hell, given what we know now, Corrado could have been placed on LTIR. Now, I don't know if that's true. And as we revealed one or two podcasts ago, as the province revealed and we read on the air,
Corrado was pretty injured.
He separated his shoulder last playoffs. He broke his hand, and he basically didn't get an off season because Utica went very deep, and he was hurt. So he came to camp sort of out of shape, and of course, because... yeah.
What was he going to do?
He was busted. This person continues, hell, given what we know now, Corrado could have been placed in LTIR. Anyways, I forgot who initiated the call, but a phone call was held between, they said they don't know if this is true, this last part.
Okay.
So, I'll start over by saying they don't know if this is true. Anyway, I forget who initiated the call, but a phone call was held between the NHL and Vancouver to ensure the Canucks actually knew the roster rules.
There's no way that... How?
What do you mean there's no way? Look at the trades that have happened in the NHL.
How likely, Steve, how likely is that? like the
I'm
NHL
gonna go
actually called him and said, are you serious?
You know what Jim Benning has made me tweet 3 times now? 3 times. I've retweeted myself because I'm like... look, it's true again. Look, it's true again. Jim Benning has made me so thankful for this current Leafs group. And if there's anything that all the GMs around the entire league could take from the previous Leafs regime, it's shut your mouth! Shut up! Stop saying things! Someone needs to give him this advice. Because everything that comes out of his mouth is a carnival. And it's hilarious. You know what? I hope no one talks to him. And Canucks fans, God love you. I hope you find happiness in another team. But this is way too much fun because you are being run by crazy people. Crazy people. And I called this years ago, not knowing how bad it was actually going to get. Because here's what you got. You got a management group that doesn't know if they're going north, south, east, or west. You don't know what you're doing with your prospects, very clearly, except for the ones that are on the NHL team. You got a young Jake Virtanen, a young Bo Horvat, and a young Jared McCann, which is fantastic, and you're going to waste them because what the hell is your team? What is your team actually? You got Alex Burrows, who's getting older. You got Daniel Sedin, who's great, but he's getting older. You got Henrik Sedin, who's great, but he's getting older. And when those guys leave, what do you have? You got the young guys who aren't going to be supported by anything because you got a group of crazies running your team. I predict...
And by the way, Ryan Miller, too.
Oh!
Superstar starting goaltender Ryan Miller, I believe, is up at the end of the year, is he not?
I predict the Canucks are going to have at least one bottom 5 finish. You know what? I'm backing out from what I texted you guys. So screw it. I can't back out from what I said. I predict the Canucks are going to get at least one last place finish in the next 5 years.
If they're lucky,
They're
one.
nuts. And you have to hit rock bottom before real change happens.
This is an
Montreal
organization.
should feel happy for the rock bottom that they're currently hitting.
Yep.
That's the only way change happens, unless Mark Bergevin has anything to say about it.
Right.
Oh, just hilarious.
Well, and what's hilarious, too, is Montreal fans keep thinking that something's going to change. They keep thinking that one day they'll just start winning again.
Well, the annoying thing with the Habs is they're not actually this bad.
Right, but you don't change anything, nothing changes, and the result stays the same. Canucks fans, I just want to, before we go on the radio here, have given up on Coach of the Year, Alain Vigneault.
Oh.
Ryan Kessler. Roberto Luongo,
Don't forget
Corey
to
Schneider,
throw John Tortorella in there.
John Tortorella.
They gave up on him.
Yeah, they sure they.
1 year into a
Cassian.
5-year commitment.
Zach Cassian, although Zach probably had his own issues.
Yeah.
And any number of other players, but that alone, Vigneault, Schneider, Luongo, having Kessler leave because he was so angry at them. I mean, that alone is going to shift the very fabric of an organization. And then you've got Tortorella coming in and being just it was awful. Everything about that team was awful.
One of the most interesting 1-year coaching tenures I've ever seen.
It was crazy. And the fact that Tortorella is working again is shocking to me. Just shocking. But, and I said this, Jim Benning is playing himself right into a bad broadcasting job.
Yes, you did say that.
And I mean that. Because he does say things.
For this company? Oh, you think it's a different one?
I didn't know
you
there
think
was
he's
a
going to be
different
working
one.
beside another
Bad exec who's no longer worried?
You never know.
Hey, we got to go here on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. This broadcast is brought to you by Panago Pizza. It is what is on the inside that counts, and we are going to talk off the air, but still at sportsnet.ca because you can download. I'm going to talk about the New York Islanders and why the New York Islanders believe that Jesus himself will be going to Game 7 and scoring their Game 7 Stanley Cup winning goal. We have proof of that, and I'm not even kidding. We'll talk about it after that.
You're the best.
I'm serious, though. Is he not? Is Jim Benning not doing that? Am I wrong?
Can I correct two things?
Sure.
So Ryan Miller is signed through 2017. And
they're paying him how much? $6 million?
No. You know what? We're not done with the Canucks.
and the
we're
goals
almost
per
done.
game, they're second last.
Oof.
So there you go.
All right.
I had something up there. If you want.
No, give me it. I'm kidding. Yo, when did they agree to give Derek Dorsett signed for the next 3 years after this one?
Why?
There's a list of all the deals Jim Benning has done. You should take a look at those, Steve.
Ooh.
If anything pops up.
This is the what?
Dear, okay.
Has he even been GM for 12 months yet?
Yeah. A little over
18?
12 months.
Okay.
Because I remember when Linden and him took over, there definitely was some positivity in there. Like, oh, all right, well, we got Trevor Linden back.
Until the moment they uttered Boston model.
Did they utter Boston model?
Oh, you bet. Oh. They let.
It's affecting them 2 regimes later. Like
I tweeted, I can't believe the Canucks were what they were and let it go south so quickly. And a Canucks fan tweeted me like, let it go so quickly. This has been 10 years in the making. No, it hasn't, actually. No. They won the President's Trophy and made it to the Stanley Cup final. And then the next year, they followed it up with another President's Trophy. Yes, they got knocked out in the first round by the team that ended up winning the Cup. The Canucks might have been the second best team in the NHL that year. Never know. This is from Nucks Misconduct. I didn't actually know SB Nation had a Canucks page. January 29th, 2015, traded Gustav Forsling to the Chicago Blackhawks for Adam Clendenning. March 2nd, 2015, traded a second-round pick in 2015 to the Calgary Flames in exchange for Sven Baertschi. March 2nd, 2015, traded Dustin Jeffries, to the New York Islanders in exchange for Corey Conacher. June 27, 2015, traded Eddie Lack to the Hurricanes for a 3rd and 7th round pick in the 2015 NHL entry draft. I would argue that is Eddie Lack worth more to an organization than Sean Mathias?
Yes.
Traded Patrick...
Eddie Lack, who, by the way, beat out Roberto Luongo for the starting job in Vancouver.
Wow.
Under Tortorella. But still, come on. Yeah. At least throw... Like, he's at least worth a piece of chicken. He's at least a second-round pick. He's a piece of chicken.
He is a piece of chicken. I don't know about a second-round pick, but traded Patrick McNally to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for a 7th-round pick. Traded Kevin Bieksa to Anaheim.
Boy, they're going to draft a lot in the 7th round. Damn.
Traded Kevin Bieksa to the Anaheim Ducks for a 2nd-round pick in 2016.
Oh, I forgot Bieksa.
I would argue the Leafs got more for Roman Polak.
Yeah, and Bieksa is pretty good.
Traded Zach Cassian and a 5th-round pick to Montreal in exchange for Brandon Prust. Traded Nick Bonino, Adam Clendenning, and a 2nd-round pick in 2016 to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Brandon Sutter and a conditional 3rd-round pick in 2016. Traded Nicholas Jensen and a 7th-round pick to the New York Rangers for Emerson Edom. I forgot that trade even happened. So there's another young guy. Trades Hunter Schikarek to the Calgary Flames in exchange for Marcus Granlund. I didn't think any of those were too bad, but that team is going nowhere faster than I've ever seen anyone go nowhere.
You know what that reminded me when I was listening to those trades? It felt like we were in an insanely slow twister. Just a lot of stuff going back and forth, not really much changing, and it just is swirling around you and there's no control. That's all that was. That's like taking an abacus and going click, 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 click. That's all that is.
They're just shifting the pieces around and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Why are you guys freaking out so much?
Well, because they're not going to make the playoffs.
We have too much scoring and we are
Granlund could be the piece. I mean, I don't want to take that away from him. He could be the piece. Probably is not the piece.
Look, I feel like right now the Canucks are on Beyond Scared Straight.
Okay.
And we're the prisoners.
Yeah.
As Leafs fans, and they can take our advice or not.
But they're not. They're the kid that at the end is like, yeah, I still don't care. Still don't care.
Yeah, I think I'm going to study harder in school and I'm going to appreciate my mom and my sister. And then the graphic comes up. This idiot went back to juvie like 2 weeks later for throwing a rock through a bus window. Like, all right. Yeah, like we're going to actually listen to Leafs fans and what they have to say. All right.
No. Listen.
We've seen this movie.
If there's one thing Leafs fans know, Canucks fans, it's losing. And it's...
and mediocrity.
And mediocrity. And really...
wasting Swedish superstars.
There's nobody that understands the swirling, slow tornado of click, 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 than us. If there's, you could tell us that we don't know what winning looks like, and you would be right. We know what losing looks like, and you're headed straight for it. You're going to kiss it on the mouth.
Ew.
Yeah.
And you know what is another great thing about all this? Because of their division, I could see them making the playoffs next year.
Because their division's that bad. The
I could
power
see them making
shifts.
the playoffs. They're not that far out. All the Ducks got to do is get a little worse, or the Sharks got to get a little
it'll
worse.
be ninth place, man.
Okay.
It'll be just like the Leafs.
The
Ninth
Kings
place.
will be very good. The Ducks have some tough decisions to make with their RFAs, and like Getzlaff's going to be a little older. Perry will be a little older. Sharks will be older. Coyotes will be older in the good way, but how much better? It's all... They could make it. They could make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's
and you know
conceivable.
what? People will be quick to send us this and be like, see? Okay.
All right.
You guys, St. Louis just made room for Kadri by putting Brian Elliott on long-term injury reserve.
Oh my goodness.
I love that you spun it that way. He might actually just be injured. but they made room for Kadri as though the Leafs couldn't take some salary back or something.
No, they made room for Kadri.
I don't even know who St. Louis's third goalie is.
I believe they just made room for James Bernier. James Bernier.
James Bernier.
What a great way to describe the last two seasons.
James Bernier.
James Bernier.
Randy Horacek.
When you said Horacek, I was like, that. There was an actual moment where I was like, that sounds familiar. Where am I? Oh, right.
Yeah,
he was
former
head coach of the
Leafs
Leafs.
head coach Peter Horacek. Just in case you missed it earlier, I don't know how you could have. The Islanders truly do believe that Jesus will show up and score the winning goal in the 7th game of the Stanley Cup Final. And they don't want you to miss it. Remember, we talked about this when we initially...
They don't want you to miss it.
We said initially... Like when this arena deal went through, we're talking about the obstructed seating. We're talking about the scoreboard that's off center. We're like, what if it's the Stanley Cup winning goal and you didn't see it, but you paid to be there?
Yeah.
And what if it's Jesus?
People were quick to tweet me. The ACC has obstructed viewing.
Everywhere does.
They have it. Yeah, everywhere has obstructed, but it's a few seats.
Yeah.
These are sections.
I mean, you could argue
seats.
where we sat at the Marlies game on Saturday was semi-obstructive only because, we sat at the glass line, so we could see
a hockey game.
We were so fancy, we were so close that the ice was just blocking us.
It really is the struggle of
seeing the
fancy folk. You think everything's great, and you know what? It mostly is, but sometimes we have hardships.
By the way, everybody was in the lower bowl in that game, so I do not feel fancy at all. That's okay though. We were 5 rows from
we
the.
watched a kid a few seats away almost get decked in the head with a puck.
Yeah, that was cool.
We were at perfect, almost getting killed line. I don't
Yeah.
think Jesse likes us. That's why he got us those seats.
Exactly.
Jesse,
Just trying to murder all of
low
you.
key trying to kill us. We were talking this morning about that, and obviously the thing that happened in Montreal, which is
Oh,
a
I forgot
tremendous
about that.
shame, tremendous shame. And on breakfast television, Kevin brings this up, and he says, obviously it's a mistake, it's an accident. You gotta chalk it up to that. You can't stop people from throwing pucks in the crowd. It's like you can't stop baseballs from going into the seats. It's assumed risk. You show up at a game. There's high-speed objects.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would say, what's a 1-month-old doing at a hockey game? And I would agree with them. However, I'm not a parent.
I would agree with him too, but I think this is one of those situations where there's no fault.
There's no fault.
It's for sure not PK's fault.
No, and the NHL doesn't need to change anything. Everybody relax. But Dina was like, "What about what if they changed up the pucks that they threw in? Like, what if they were
No.
like stuffed animal pucks? I forget what's the word for that? There's like a
Plush puck?
yeah, a plush. She's like, what if they're
Like a
plush
foam?
pucks? I'm like, Dina, are you serious right now? And then later on in the show, she comes to me and she's like, oh boy, I'm getting lots of tweets from hockey fans. And they include a lot of exclamation marks, so I know I'm in trouble. Anyway, really funny.
And there was nothing but love in her heart when she made that suggestion.
Sure, exactly. And thankfully that the child in that story, by the way, is going to be okay. The family acknowledges that it was a mistake, and the Montreal Canadiens have offered them a box for a game, which I think is pretty nice.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
Easy
And by
decision
the
to
way,
make.
it's nice to know that we can still solve problems without getting lawyers involved in the 21st century. How nice is that? So round of applause to that family that understands that it's just an accident.
The
How
second
great
I
is
saw she wrote about it on Facebook, I'm like, here we go. Here we go. But no, it was an accident.
It was an
Do
accident.
you guys know how many seats are obstructed at the Barclays Center?
How many?
Take a guess.
500.
There's one section. So how many? Can I ask the capacity?
For hockey, I believe it is
wanna say 15.
15,795.
Which isn't much.
Closer to 6.
That's not great?
It's about what the Jets get,
Yeah.
except they fill it.
The Islanders are 28th in attendance.
Which is sad. Okay, so hang on.
In Brooklyn, New York.
I'm gonna say 750.
1,500 seats.
Whoa! That was my
So a
guess in my
15th,
head.
a 15th of your seats.
Yeah.
That's not good enough. Now, here's what I read: 31 games played at Barclays Center.
No, I don't think that number's right, Adam.
15,000.
It's closer to a tenth. It's a little less than a
15,000, and he said 7. What did he say? How many seats are obstructed?
1,500.
Yeah, so
1,500.
so one in every 15 seats.
Is that?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know.
Isn't that right?
I'm awful at math. I, couldn't tell you.
so. Okay,
I'm pretty sure that's right.
15,000 divided by 1,500 equals 10, Adam.
Oh, shit!
I love you.
Hey.
I love my friend Adam.
I'm so bad at math. Steve's hugging me now. Okay, so that's one in every 10 seats. Am I right?
It's so,
Now you're right.
wait, that's even worse, though.
That's even
Yeah.
worse.
Points.
So my
I'm playing
point.
Jesse now.
I
I'm
don't
going.
know.
I know you were wrong, but you're right.